when we get down that road. See, and over the course of life, as I went into these political things, and I've got the first time I went into a political race and lost pretty reasonably badly, I actually got physically sick. I was just not used to being pummeled. And I thought, well, next time, go on and on. And then I was called to get involved in these presidential, knowing, by the way, that I probably didn't stand a chance. And even there, the losses didn't seem like losses. But then I got involved in Senate race and so forth, and you finally reach that point where you're hit by a loss that really takes the wind out of you. And you start to be pummeled by things where the media is coming against you with ridicule, and the devil's sneaking into your family with lies and confusion. And before you know it, it seems like on every front you are being assaulted and flayed and bleeding. And suddenly you're feeling very, very put upon, lost, alone. And some part of you is first burdened by guilt. You know, what did I do? Where have I gone wrong? Because you understand, as we all must, that we suffer because we're sinful. But then you look over your life and you say, but I tried, Lord. I tried. I've been trying to speak the truth. I've been trying to stand for the things that seem to be right there in your word that we have got to stand for. Why am I having to go through with this? Why am I being crushed every time? Why am I watching all the people who say they believe these things desert me on every hand? Why is this happening? And you know how that is with us. You start to feel sorry for yourself, and before you know it, you're not only going through a little loss of energy and loss of confidence, and finally the faith itself starts to shake. See, because that part of you that was worshiping success starts to say, well, doesn't look like this leads to. I'm listening to you, but it's not getting me anywhere. Maybe I shouldn't be listening to you. Are you really who I thought? And things like this. You know how that is. Okay. But you know what I found over the course, especially of the last few years? As I've gone through some things that I wasn't at all sure I could take. I could take anything laid against me publicly, but when the devil started coming against me and my family and my children, I don't know, those of you who have children, the thing that you hope and pray for, more than anything else, more than riches, more than success, more than job, more than anything, I just prayed that they would know the Lord, have faith in God, and walk the walk that was required of them by his will. And when you see things happening, and we all can experience it in this society, it doesn't have to be somebody involved in this or that. You think you're doing the best you can, and you're losing your child to drugs. You think you're doing the best you can and praying and giving yourself to the Lord. You lose your child to sexual promiscuity and hear about an abortion. You think, oh, but she was a Christian girl. How could she do that? And it breaks your heart. And it bleeds right there. Your heart is bleeding from 1,000 wounds. But here's what I found when I was most tempted by the darkness that just wants to give it all up and give up even that belief that has sustained you and gotten you where you were. Do you know what you find? You find that the blood that drips from your broken heart is mingling with blood already there. You find that the pain that you're going through and the place of pain that you're in, all of a sudden you turn around and you hear a groan in the dark corner because somebody's already there with you. There is somebody bleeding and scourged and suffering. There is somebody broken. There is somebody sinless suffering for your sins. There is somebody who had done nothing in the whole of life except to reach out a healing hand that would make the limbs whole, that would make the eyes see, who was then broken and scourged and put up with criminals and thieves. There is somebody there who, having done everything to save the world, was then held up to ridicule, abuse, and death itself. All innocent that he was, long before you walked that path. See, the beauty of it is that after a whole life thinking that I was praying and walking and even sometimes struggling a little bit with doubt about God and his presence, it was in the depths of the darkness and brokenness, the temptation to surrender in that darkness, that I realized that that Christ was right there before me, and that I was not bleeding a drop, not sighing a sigh, not making a groan, not feeling a pain, not broken by one assault that he had not felt before me. And see, I think that's sometimes now we can get to a place we forget this, don't we? We become what I think of as kind of resurrection Christians, forgetting that Good Friday comes before the resurrection. We want to have all the fruits and the glory and the joy, and we forget that Christ isn't just there with us when things are going well and we're feeling the joy and exalted on high, confident in the power of God because it's making good things happen for us. He's there when, despite every good we do, evil is still whipping us down the street. It's there when, in spite of everything we have tried, temptation still breaks us into sin. He's there when we are falling beneath the burden of our own fallen nature and our own fallen world and our own inability to believe in the face of all that fallenness. That's when he's there. See, and I discovered in the midst of all that the true presence of Christ in my life. The Christ that isn't about whether you win or lose, whether you're up or down, whether this one or that one is saying anything about you. The presence of the Lord that is only about this. The peace and the love and the joy and the mercy that you find. When, yes, like the Lord, you're up there on Calvary. You're all by yourself in the midst of the darkness at noon. And you just let go. Let go the way he did. My Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? But then the truth, that in that brokenness and darkness, you just commend your spirit as Christ did into the hands of God. See? And it's in that moment, just following that example, lifting up your hands in helplessness to say, okay, God, I give up. And you just give up. And he lifts you up. And you just give up. And you can still go on. Because Christ showed you the way. Okay? And I think that's the most important moment of my life. And I can say it's because not just that I found Christ, but that in the midst of the seemingly worst experience, I found him again and knew that he had been there before me. That he had shown the way, and that therefore, however bleak it looked, I knew that there was a doorway into the light. And it was my Lord.